You know, I really love older homes, and I'm heading to a city that has plenty of them, Augusta, Georgia. For the last year, this great old Victorian has been home to Bob and Marianne Zura and their son Connor. The couple fell in love with the enormous kitchen, but there's one problem. Bob, who does most of the cooking, practically has to shout when he's at the stove and the family's at the table. Well, today we're going to close the communication gap by building a kitchen island in front of the stove that will provide seating, workspace, and plenty of storage. Boy, what a grand old lady this is. When was it built?
Either 1887 or 1889. That's as close as we get to a date.
And you've been here how long?
Almost a year.
Yeah. So this is a kitchen project, little island.
We need a lot of help on it.
Okay, let's take a look.
All right.
Now, the nice thing about this project is we're not going to custom make this. We're going to assemble it from modular cabinet, base cabinets that we got at the Home Improvement Center. And so it's really an assemblage of cabinets with a countertop placed on the top of everything.
Nice and easy.
So the thought was to put the seating on this side over here.
Great.
It'll run along here, and then there'll be room for one chair over here at the end.
Okay, great.
And then on this side, which will face your cabinets over there, we'll have all the doors and drawers.
Okay.
So we're going to need to move this out of the way. This an heirloom?
Yeah.
It's sort of. It's my medical school and college desk, so I'm happy to see it go.
Oh yeah, but it's not going to go far away.
It'll probably become Connor's desk as soon as he
All right,
brings
Connor, you want to go for a ride?
his
that'll be good.
ABCDs.
Okay, here we go. Woo!
Bye, guys.
Choosing the exact placement of our island is important. So I make a cardboard template and get ready for some experimenting. Now there we go. So this is the dimension of your new countertop. 3.5 feet wide, 8 feet long.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it looks perfect.
Not too big?
We thought it was going to be too big, but I think the room
it
takes it
doesn't-
perfectly.
Yeah, it doesn't look
looks
too big
great.
now.
Okay. What I want to do now, guys, this tape measure, is since we've agreed that this size is okay, we're really talking about placement, how far away from your other cabinets. Now, ideally, the minimum we would want on this would be 3 feet. So let me set it in here at 3 feet. Okay, let's come down this way a little bit. Push it out to the 3-foot mark there. All right. Now, some of the things you want to consider, dishwasher here. Is this going to clear all right? And do you want to be able to walk around this?
Right.
Now, assuming we've got a cabinet door over here on this cabinet, are they going to bang each other?
Maybe.
I think definitely a
Definitely
little more
wanna
room by
move
the
it.
dishwashers.
Okay. And then we'll come out to 42. Now, remember, over here, see, now you could actually walk through here.
Maybe you could, buddy.
Or you could sidle through. Cricket, could you push tape this last corner, please? With Cricket's approval, I marked the corners of the island with masking tape. You just pick up the cardboard there. Okay. Okay, Crick. Come on off, girl. We'll get this. We'll take this. You can have this. Right. This can be yours. All right. So let's now bring in some of the base cabinets. All of our cabinetry has been unpacked in the dining room. And with a little help from my carpenter, David Schulte, we arranged them in position, placing the corners just inside the tape marks. Now it's time to start joining these up. Marianne, kind of use your fingers to feel down there if they're flush.
Okay.
And when they are, just let Bob know. Bob, you put the first clamp on right below this first rail there. We'll attach the cabinets together by driving screws through the face frames. Our first step is to drill a clearance hole through the first face frame. I've wrapped a piece of tape around the bit as a depth marker to make sure we don't penetrate into the adjoining frame. Now I'm going to take a smaller bit. You see, this is longer. This is going to go into the second piece of wood here. Call this a pilot hole. Now this is small enough so that the screw will actually bite into that one. This is a countersink bit right here. It's a kind of a cone-shaped bit. It's going to create a cone-shaped recess, and that's so that the head of the screw right here will drop into that and it won't get in the way of the drawer out here.
Okay.
Finally, we drive in a 2.5-inch screw. We'll use 3 for each face frame. We'll put the next one in right down here, and guess who's going to do that? Marianne.
I can do it, but I need more drills.
Yeah, you gotta have room for it. A normal person would just change the bits out, but
I
not
need
me.
I need at least 6 drills to
I
do
like the color.
this.
When you get to the edge of the tape and you want to stop it. Couldn't be done better. Using nearly every drill in my collection, Mary Ann drives in the rest of the screws.
Ta-da!
Is that the squeak of completion?
Yeah.
Now, if these cabinets were going up against the wall, we'd screw the backs into the wall studs, and we wouldn't worry about this back here. But since these are freestanding, we're going to attach these at the back as well as the front. And so I'm going to slip this in here. This is just a spacer, like that, and it's the same thickness as this gap right here. The spacer will allow us to fasten the cabinet sides firmly together with screws. Once it's secured, we'll trim off the top of the spacer with a Japanese handsaw. These are actually very old tools. They originally were made by Japanese sword makers. They're the ones who probably made some of the first saws. This is a production model here, but it's great for something like this because I can get it right down on the surface here. And it cuts as I pull the saw to me, and that makes a nice flush cut for trimming off a piece like that. With the first 2 cabinets attached together, we repeat the process and add a third. Everything we're using on this island is a standard or a stock cabinet. But I needed 2 12-inch wide cabinets for the bottom, and I couldn't find anything in a base cabinet that narrow, so we're having to use wall cabinets. They're the correct width, but they're a little bit short. Okay. They're only 30 inches high. So to bring them up to the proper height, we're going to put a little base on the bottom. I've constructed the base out of 4 pieces of 1x4, then added 2 wooden cleats to the inside. These cleats will drop down into the bottom of our cabinet and be attached with screws. And then this, it's called a right angle drill. It's just for getting in tight spots like this.
Yeah, that is a tight spot.
Fit right down in here. Okay, that's all there is to it. Just drive those in like that.
Okay.
There you go.
Believe it or not, I was pushing. There it goes.
Before attaching these new cabinets, we add another spacer. We're going to just tack this on here. Ooh. Yeah, why don't you put a couple of those? I could tell you really wanted to do that. Okay. It's a little brad gun or nail gun.
Okay.
And just hold it fairly straight. Push it in so it won't go any further and pull the trigger.
And it's okay for me to hold on to this thing? Whoa!
Okay, and make it a quick pull.
Okay.
With the spacers in place, Mary Ann gets another chance to master her drilling skills.
Oops.
As we attach the cabinets together.
It's much easier when you go faster.
So Bob, this is the backs of these cabinets we're seeing right now that we've attached together normally would be up against the wall. Right. In this case, we're going to see the backs. So to cover them up, we're going to use some of this beadboard, or plywood paneling. Bob and I put glue on the back of the paneling and along the edge of the cabinet. All right, so this is going to come down here. You want to hold that in place, Bob?
Sure.
And let's make it flush with this edge out here. Bob fires in nails about every 6 inches, being careful to stay near the edge so the nails will grab the cabinet's sides.
This is a lot of fun. This is why you do this.
We repeat the process with the back panel. What that reminds me of? Lombard Street, San Francisco.
Mary Ann and I are both UVA graduates, so it's the serpentine walls of Jefferson in Charlottesville that we would think of with that.
Well, this is, I always figure when you're gluing, it's sort of a carpenter's Rorschach test in a way. You know? All right, ready to put this up?
Sure. Keep going along here?
Yeah, now here's, let's just see if this is how we're going to deal with these holes. See, this is just a wax pencil. This is a pre-finished paneling. The paneling's already on here, so this is the stuff you'd use to fill up the holes rather than a putty. It doesn't have to be sanded. Well, it's Connor's bedtime, so Bob and Mary Ann leave me on my own. While they're gone, I attach base molding and trim along each corner. Our kit for this project also comes with 2 pre-finished decorative columns, which we'll attach next. Hey guys, So Connor's down for his nap?
He's sleeping.
Right, so you
Okay.
can't make any noise.
All right, be very quiet. No nailing right now, I promise. So, Marianne, can you just hold this in place down here? See that line right there? Just knock it over a little bit so it's right on the line. Bob, here's the screwdriver. Okay, and some screws. Just from the inside now, I've drilled 3 clearance holes there.
All right.
Screw through and into the back of this column. The plastic disc is a base for a snap-on cap that conceals the screw head. Finally, we're ready to install our butcher block countertop, a special order item from the Home Improvement Center. Now this is a great example of why carpenters Scott Haynes and David Schulte accompany me on all my house calls.
All right. Got
That is one
Watch fingers.
big butcher block.
That is beautiful.
Wow. And in the off season, it can be a ping pong table.
Yeah.
However we use it, we need to put the proper finish on it. When it comes to finishing a brand new butcher block countertop like this one, you've got a couple of options depending on how you're going to use it. If you're going to prepare food directly on the wood, especially if you're going to carve on it, then you'll want to use some kind of an oil finish. Don't, though, use a vegetable oil like this because it could turn rancid over time. Instead, you'll want to use a mineral oil. And one of the best ways to put this on is to spread the oil on the surface and then work it into the wood using some wet or dry sandpaper. When you do this, make sure that you're always going back and forth with the grain of the wood. Now, if you're not going to be carving directly on the surface, I'd recommend a clear coating like a polyurethane varnish. This is a water base, this is an oil base. The advantage to these is that they seal the wood up very, very well, resist almost entirely any kind of staining from liquids, and are relatively easy to put on. Now, you'll probably want to put on 2 or even 3 coats. A foam brush like this is a good applicator. Use long, straight strokes, always going with the grain. In between each coat, give it a sanding with wet or dry paper dipped in water. The water acts as a lubricant. And once again, make sure you always sand with the grain. You got your island.
Oh, this is beautiful.
This
Yeah?
is fantastic, Ron.
I think it's
we just
really
love
nice. Can you envision it in use?
it. I couldn't envision it, but now I can and use it.
Can you envision
I
it now that
can.
it's here and it's a
gonna-
reality?
It's
Oh,
going to be
absolutely.
perfect.
We'll be living at this island.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
What are we going to call it? Bob
Connor's-
Island? Marianne Island?
Connor's
Yeah,
Island.
Connor's Island.
Well, Connor's Island has brought additional countertop space, lots of new storage, and a family gathering center to this spacious kitchen. And remember, it was made by simply assembling stock modular cabinets. Now, I'd say that makes it a perfect weekend project for just about any of us do-it-yourselfers.